So I'm very pleased that you guys were able to join us today. I've got wonderful people on this webinar. One thing I do want to mention, guys, is that we do have a chat box. It's right to the left of where you can raise your hand. It's right to the left. Everybody knows where chat is. If you have questions, I want you to click on it and please share us your questions. We'll make sure that our wonderful panel can make sure and answer your questions. We've got fantastic people with us. We've got Chris Stevenson, who just published a wonderful book, Fitness Facility Management. We're going to throw that link into the chat box so you guys can see it. He's a former Power Ranger. And I always joke about this. One of my kids for 2 years wore the red Power Ranger costume, but that's where Chris is. He's an incredible star here. He was a stuntman and he's globally recognized speaker. He brings 20 years of experience running top performing health clubs, and he owned a facility for many, many years. He is also founder of the Empower Group. He does a lot of consulting and, of course, speaking worldwide. Fantastic person. We also have Ann Gilbert with us, who's not only a dear friend, she's the owner of Fit Her Health and Wellness for Women, and she leads 50 trainers and instructors that specialize in exercise for adults, the age of 48 to 78. She's an ACE and HFA Personal Trainer of the Year and industry expert. She develops and treats SCW certification. She's taught our active aging certification, our aquatic certification, and she helped choreograph our water in motion program and created our SEAT program, SEAT, Supported Exercise for Ageless Trainer. She's an incredible creator. We also have Eric DeGotti with us. Eric has a wonderful, wonderful program. It's the Principles of Performance podcast. He is an incredible consultant. He owned a club for 12 years. He has a degree in exercise physiology and has 25 years of experience training elite athletes. He's trained Olympians. He's trained Pro Bowl players. I keep kind of looking at it going, yeah. I thought he was one of those Pro Bowl trainers. And then we've got Amber Toole, who is fantastic. He has been on an incredible number of panels at our Mania conventions. He's also led SCW certifications, especially in our Nutrition for Older Adults program. He brings in 30 plus years of fitness experience. He has a degree in physical education and health. She owns a very successful business called The Training Tool. It's a thriving wellness studio in Ocala, Florida, a very exclusive area. And she also just opened a second facility on Pilates. So she's very successful. And then we have the wonderful Ellen DeWord, love her programs, the Warrior Rhythm programs. And she does Warrior Rhythm Strength, Combat. She's got an aging program. She's taught in 13 different countries, and she's the founder of the Warrior Instructor Academy, and she's presented all over the world. So I am thrilled that we have these wonderful 5 people that are joining us. We have approximately about 40 people that we think are going to show up lively, with a little bit over 120 registrants, which means with all our recordings and our podcast, that we will end up with over 120 listeners. So it's kind of fun. Please throw your questions in the chat box. And we're going to start real quickly. I'm going to start with Chris Stevenson. How can you build strong, lasting client relationships?
First of all, Sarah, before we get started, thank you for putting on webinars like this. I know that I've known you forever and we're dear friends, but I have no idea how you put out the amount of content that you put out to benefit our industry week after week after week. Like, I get exhausted
Blah, blah, blah,
watching you do it, but thank you. And thanks for bringing such a great group together. Appreciate that. Retention is important. And especially nowadays, the old days of churn and burn are over. When there were less providers, you could sign people up. You didn't care if they showed up. You didn't care if they were happy because you would just sign up more and it was this volume game. But now with the amount of choices, and not just choices, but diverse choices, I can join a big box club. I can join a boutique studio. I can do things online. There are so many options. Hanging on to the members we got are absolutely crucial. So understand it. Again, it's no longer a volume game. It's a retention game. And that operators and practitioners that focus on retention are the ones that are going to have that sustained success and ultimately change more lives. So kind of, piling onto that, it's all about creating a strategy. So I started as a group exercise instructor and a personal trainer, and I opened up a studio about like 20 years ago. And there was just 6 of us, and we had a really good culture and we had really good retention because we were similar people. We believed in giving more than expected, showing up early, staying late, and putting out a good quality training product. When we expand to our first full service health club, we went from 6 people to 60 and realized this is not going to happen organically anymore. That's just too many people. So we created a strategy. We started with the vision, mission, values, and wrapped that around something that would create an environment of a great experience that people wanted to remain a part of. So, for example, our mission statement was everybody leaves feeling better than when they arrived. And we knew if that happened for everybody who came in our facility, regardless of what they did, then they would be retained, right? So you want to set up a strategy. Again, it's not an accident. Any great company in our industry or out of our industry that retains clients has a strategy. And that starts with, again, mission, vision, values, making sure that you're hiring the right people. Because if you want to deliver experience that leads to high levels of retention, you have to have the right people. You can't get the wrong people to do it. Then onboarding them, training them, coaching them, taking them through that process. Once they're up to speed, you're coaching them on a regular basis. You're making sure that you're expressing your appreciation and rewards and recognition based around them doing a great job of creating an experience that leads to great retention, making that part of evaluations. But again, it's just a complete strategy. And no matter if you're a full service gym with 60 people, a studio with 6, or you have your own business, you need to have that strategy. It's not going to happen by accident. So, looking at the member journey and making sure that all the touch points are easy, effective, and enjoyable. And that's going to lead you from a prospect to a raving fan who stays with you forever and refers you people.
I think that's great. I really like that you have systems. It was a very interesting situation that I was evaluating and got involved with at a club. And what they did was, if you were in this was literally a system and it was written down on a schedule. If you're 20 feet away from someone as an employee, you have to smile and nod at them. If it was 10 feet, you have to say, hi, welcome. If there was 10 feet, close. If they were 10 feet away, they said, it's good to see you. How are you? And then if they were 5 foot away or less than 5 feet, they have to talk to them and have a conversation and smile. So it was very interesting how it was almost like a rule. Ellen, I'm going to hit you up here because, you work so closely being the group fitness manager at a facility for quite some time. What other things did you guys do to build that strong, lasting client relationship?
So I think just working really hard at creating a web-like community. And weirdly, this means kind of taking ourselves, whether we're group X instructor, personal trainer, admin, front lines, whatever, kind of taking a back seat and bringing our members and their relationship to the forefront. So my visual for you guys is, if I had a ball of yarn in my hand and I was holding onto the string and I threw the ball to Chris and he caught it and he threw it back, I'm connected to Chris. Thanks, Chris. And then I threw it to Amber. She threw it back. I'm connected to Amber. Throw it to Ann. Throw it to Eric. Throw it to you, Sarah. Everyone's connected to me. Like I'm the star of the show. But what happens if something happens to me? And how connected are those people aren't connected to each other at all? Whereas if I throw to Chris, Chris throws to Eric, Eric throws to Ann throws to Amber, Amber throws to Sarah, Sarah throws to me. We're all like meshed together in this web. So if we can take opportunities to literally, it's as simple as making introductions, finding commonality. So-and-so likes gardening because they brought you a heirloom tomato after your class. Someone else was talking about gardening. Make sure they're connecting over their passion. Someone has preschoolers that are using the Kid Stop and someone else does, making sure they meet, stuff like that.
That's great. And Ann, you're nodding.
I'm nodding because I agree so much.
Okay. But so how do you build that strong, lasting client relationship?
I agree with Chris and Ellen 100%, but I really think it's important to make sure that we connect with a program and not a price. And I've been in the business a really long time, and it was used to be about the price, like Chris said, and how many the volume was important and the back door was open and they were running out the back door. But connecting them with the right program. And that might mean, Ellen, a specific class or a specific specificity like Amber's Pilates, but making sure that in those first couple months that we help create a habit by connecting them to a program. And it's got to be fun, because it's not fun for the new exerciser in the beginning. So to me, the fun is more important in the first couple of months, and the program that we connect them with is more important than the sets and the reps and even the body composition changes that we might think are important. We have to get them connected to a program, not a price. And then it has to be fun, because it's not a habit for them. Exercise is optional when they walk in your door. We have to make sure that movement becomes mandatory.
And Eric, what are your thoughts on that?
So the success of really any relationships gets determined pretty quickly. And so that first initial interaction is key. And so we leave a lot of opportunities on the table. And so that's why, we created our system, what we call the key questions, which is literally a script, a system to say, ask these questions, and then you got to shut up and listen and pay attention to what they say, and then ask the second question. And a lot of times, how many times we've been to the doctor, they don't even look up from their pad. There's been research done where physical therapists listen for an average about 14 seconds to their patients. And we don't make it about them, right? We're too busy selling how many certifications we have or what our space has to offer and what equipment we have. They're there with a problem that we have to solve. And so as an example, we'll do a live experiment where most people just kind of go through that medical history and injury history and their goals, and they'll gloss over it. And okay, I'm so quick to show you exercises, where you leave precious moments on the table. And one example I always give is, we had a woman we were practicing it with in our course. And she mentioned something about how she was a former runner, but she doesn't run anymore because of her knee. Well, the person doing the mock interview that we were doing just kind of said, "Oh, you have a knee problem. Okay, does it bother anymore?" And then just moved on. And then I said, "Well, ask the second question. What if we got your knee feeling better? And I can't promise you anything, but if we got your knee to the point where you could run again, what would that do?" And the woman welled up and she said, "I would invite you to Thanksgiving dinner." And that's how you create what we call a forever client. When you create that emotional connection, they're yours, right? But if you're just so busy checking the box and getting ready to show them exercises, they can get that anywhere.
Yeah, interesting. Um, uh, Amber, you're running one club and then you opened another facility. So you got to retain those people, but you're still trying to attract more. So how do you get these lasting client relationships?
Well, Sarah, I think it's really important, number one, to create a family for the clients who are there to come in and be a part of. And Ellen really touched on this with talking about her web. We do this also at my studios. And, we have a name. They're called the Training Tool Tribe, and they have their t-shirts and their sweatshirts, and everybody can wear those and be together and really make that connection. I think that's really important, because you have to have them bought into something else besides just the exercise. Because let's be honest, most people don't really love exercise. We're the weirdos that like it, but most of the people that come to us are not. And then another thing is to really know your client. So everybody who comes in, we do a whole onboarding with new clients, and we have a survey that they fill out, and it goes through everything. Obviously, I've already talked to them. I know their goals. I know their pain points. I know their knee pain, that they can't run anymore, all of those things. But here's what else I know about every single one of our clients is I know their animals and their animal names, their children's names, their spouse's names. I know when their birthday is. I know what their favorite color is, their favorite restaurant, and where they love to shop. And that goes into their file. That way, as we talk later, we're going to talk a little bit about personalized touches. When you have that information, if I need to send Sarah a congratulations gift and I want to send her flowers and her favorite color is blue, then I want to send her something that is specific to her. So that helps with that.
And how do you retain the information on those individual clients, Amber, so that you can send them something on their birthdays? You can make sure you document, let's say their favorite color or their favorite program that they enjoy.
So we use a software system that keeps all of that in one place. So if you were my client, I could go into your name and it would have all of those forms in one place. So I could pull that information from there.
Okay, very cool. What program do you use? Just wondering.
So I use Coach Engine.
Coach, very cool. All right, excellent. And how do we personalize the touches that boost loyalty? Chris, do you have any recommendations on how we can boost this loyalty with the clients that we have now?
Sure. And I do want to kind of recap something that was said from Amber, Ann, and Ellen both alluded to that. Ellen, your string analogy was dead on, but it reminded me of something we always talked about, what we call diversified member engagement. And what we meant by that was if you come for one thing, there's a small likelihood that you'll stay a long period of time. But when you're building these other connections and getting more involved in different aspects of a facility, the more likely you are to stay. So if I come in, I take Ann's seat class and I love it, but Ann also has connected me to a bunch of other members who I now hang out with, outside of the facility. But then I also love, sitting in the hydro massage chair. So getting members to participate in various aspects as opposed to just coming and renting a treadmill or just taking that one class. So strive to diversify that. And then Eric, you nailed it, by the way. How about results? Like no matter how nice you are or how many relationships you build or how much fun you have, people ultimately are looking for a result. So let's not forget about the most simple and obvious answer that Eric was brilliant enough to share is that like you got to get people what they're looking to accomplish. We got to solve their problems. So you have to make sure that your product or service is solving those issues and getting people results. From the personalization, we teach specific customer service tactics like how to memorize names, and we use something called FACE: focus, ask, connect, and execute. So actually pay attention, ask someone their name, make some sort of connection in your head to remember, and then use it again in the conversation because nothing personalizes more than the use of a name. With some of our younger staff that we coach and train, we give them a technique called FORD, which is family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. And we'll tell people on shift, like, I'll cover the desk for a minute, go forward some people. And that gives them talking points to start to build real relationships. So that's starting to personalize it. And then back to, and Ann mentioned it too, was it's no longer a churn and burn game. It is about retention. And those are what successful organizations focus on. But we would always personalize it. What we call DNS did not show cadence and strategy. So if Ellen was a member of my gym and she didn't show up for a week, she got pinged with an email that said, Ellen, we miss you. Where you been? If she didn't reply to that, if she replied, we could engage with her and get her back in the facility. Sometimes it's, oh, I'm on vacation, or I had an injury. If it was an injury, say, let me set you up with our trainer, Eric. He's fantastic. He can help you with that injury. And there's that opportunity. If 14 days went by, you got pinged again. And then by 21, you're getting a phone call. Just a phone call saying, hey, you haven't been here. We'd love to get you back in. How can we help? So letting people know we care. We know exactly whether they're there or not. They're not just a number. So it's tactics like that. And then, however you can personalize. I think, Ann, you said it earlier, we had a birthday board up front, and as silly as it seems, people would come in and take selfies because their name happened to be written on a board that said happy birthday, and it thrilled people. So finding those ways, celebrating your anniversary. Oh my gosh, it's your 2nd-year anniversary at Fit Her. Right. And by the way, anytime you celebrate an anniversary, you're telling them, by the way, anniversary means that this relationship goes forever, right? We're going to keep it going.
Correct.
But milestones, your 25th class, figuring out all those ways to make this individual, even though they're part of a bigger organization, feel like everything is designed to celebrate them.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what I like what you're bringing up is that the club needs to develop these ongoing connections. What are the birthdays? What are the anniversaries? How, if they're doing special programs like doing a walk or doing a special run, engaging with community.
And Sarah, by the way,
yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say the other thing we're all guilty of, because I used to teach group exercise and train, and your staff's guilty of it, whether they're working the desk or they're teaching a class, is we gravitate to the people that we already know really well, right? We love those clicks. We love the people in group X that are that front row that we engage with all the time. So challenge your staff. Make sure you yourself are getting out of just the people that they're already happy. Go find the people that don't get talked to. Go to the people in the back of the class. Make it your personal goal to engage with everybody, especially the people who aren't obviously engaging.
And setting up these systems like you brought up earlier. And it's really important to have the employees, your systems as the owner, as the group fitness manager, et cetera, to connect with the clients. But I think it's very important for the clients to connect with each other.
Yep.
Building that client retention in those small groups or making the facility feel more comfortable and like it's home. I think that's important because like before we turn the camera on, I was like, your employees leave. Group fitness instructors get offered more money. They end up because somebody's pregnant, somebody gets divorced, they're moving, whatever they're gonna end up doing. We want to make sure that the members then contact each other. And I'm going to throw this right at you because you do a lot with small group training. And that's been very profitable for you to get these small group people to work with each other, especially when they're on those AOMs, anti-obesity medications. So how do we get those? Also, how do we get those, your clients to combine with each other so they are really your retention secret?
Well, thank you for that opportunity. Small group is key to our facility, and it's not necessarily small group just in functional training or TRX. It's card club on Friday afternoon so that they're spending more time. It's shopping together with a computer on what they're going to buy for Christmas presents at a desk. They're using each other's energies to build relationship throughout. Specific specificities and needs like the AOM customer, which is very, very big in our community and has caused us a lot of new interest and now a lot of new sales and programming. Just being able to meet the customer on a daily basis where she is. I work with women only, so I say she a lot, but being able to meet and pivot, and we learned that word in COVID, right? But turn in another direction and make sure that it's not about the sets and reps on a certain day, but how is that person feeling? What are they capable of? In the past, if my clients weren't capable of participating in my sets and reps program, they left. Right? They left for the day and I rescheduled them. Now they stay and we find a different corner of the facility for them to either chat in, play cards in, water walk in, or something that keeps them in the facility and keeps them tied to the facility. So I have been one that used templates for training for years and years and years. And guess what? I'm throwing them out because every single day when my client walks in the door, she is a different person. And it isn't just somebody that has a medical history with weight loss right now, but someone that does not like exercise. 80% of the people in Brandon, Florida do not like exercise. So I have to meet them at the door. That same person that sat in the parking lot for 3 weeks deciding whether she was going to walk in the door or not, I meet and greet at the front door. I do not offer a set and rep until I feel as though she's ready. So we work on movement first. And then activities, like everything that's been announced here or talked about, including card club, right? Faith-based workouts, taking a walk, shopping. Then we talk about the sets and reps. So meeting people where they are on day one, I think is the way that they can walk away and say, I can't believe what happened at my gym.
Yeah, that's interesting. And that's where we're talking about techniques that keep our clients engaged and returning. And Amber, you were kind of nodding your head. What are some of the things that have really worked? Because that's interesting, Anne. We've gotten the Ozempic and GLP-1s. Those programs are getting very successful, and all the physicians are recommending healthy programs.
Mm-hmm. Thank goodness, right?
So,
mm-hmm.
So to keep our clients engaged, we do a lot of different things throughout the year. And you have to remember that when you have groups of people, you're going to have different interests. So we offer different challenges throughout the year. I've offered like a step challenge. We've done a how many vegetables can you eat in a day challenge, or eat the rainbow challenge, all different kinds of things like that. We offer free workshops. I know Anne does this too in her facility for our clients to help to give them extra information on all things health, from their sleep and stress management and hydration. And I'm always harping on nutrition. So they get a lot of nutrition information. They do races together. We offer a book club. So we actually are currently reading a book, and it is faith-based. So, but it's about nutrition and blending that with your spiritual life and how to, finally overcome those nutrition things that are obstacles that are in your way. And then sometimes we do like a committed club. So it might be for a t-shirt, it might be for a sticker. Stickers are really popular now. So we have them try to hit a certain number of workouts every month. And then if they do that, then they actually win the prize. So, people will do a lot of stuff for t-shirt.
So the challenges really work, like winning a t-shirt, if you bring in a friend, you get a discount on the next registration along with the partner you brought in on the registration. And Ellen, how are you managing things like this to try to make sure your clients are engaged and returning?
Well, I think because mostly I deal in group exercise, group exercise folks are people generally. If they're coming into a room full of people, they like to be around people. And so to me, knowing their name is a non-negotiable. When people say I'm not good at learning people's names, that is such a cop-out. We cannot be people that say that in this industry. That to me is like when we say I'm too busy, it just means this wasn't a priority. We all have 24 hours in the day. So it basically says I don't care enough about who you are if I can't remember your name. So I love the compliment. I love hearing from students, I can't believe you remembered my name. And I hear that a lot because here's some technique, okay? I'm basically a little bit creepy. I don't have the high-tech software that Amber has, but I will take notes in my notepad app on my phone to remember a member's name, whether I'm saying Sally, bright pink hair, whatever it takes, something that will help me remember who that person is. Maybe it's finding them on social media because they checked in on the app. I can see their name there. Maybe we made a great connection in class. So I follow up by trying to find them. A little creepy, I know, send them a friend request, but it helps me get connected and engaged to their life and show the care. And I know Chris and Eric both talked about the importance of results. That's not paramount for me because I know that if they're happy and coming back and moving, their quality of life is going to be better. For me, it's are they feeling like they can't find a better, more personal experience anywhere else? For me to know that if they left, if they canceled their membership, they couldn't find better. So, and then those personal touches, this is a little crazy. I use my Google Calendar. So I'll give you an example that happened this week, but I do this all the time. I knew that someone was having a biopsy yesterday. So day before yesterday, I put in my Google Calendar to send them a text. It took 45 seconds to write it down and then to text them, good luck tomorrow with the flower emoji, and I do that all the time, whether it's a college kid that has to give a speech that they're nervous about, or, their stepson had a traumatic brain injury and they're going to be going to a specialty hospital in a certain date. I write it down and send a message. So those are some of the techniques I use, creepy as they may seem, to make people feel known and loved.
I don't think it's creepy. I think it's kind. And I like how we started with setting up systems and getting your AI system under control, and when do you say hello to people? How often, what questions do you ask, etc. But then also those individual personalizations. And Eric, how can we create memorable, valuable, client experiences? What are your thoughts on that?
So, my perspective in terms of the same way I would teach a trainer or coach, your key elements of writing a really good training program is also the key elements of those experiences, and that there's kind of this two innate things that human beings love and that we also need in order to get results is one is we need to be challenged. And people like to be challenged, but people take that as, okay, we're just going to beat you down in this class and see how sore we can make you. And that's not what we're here for. But you also need to be successful. So if you're really good, and this goes back to what Ann was saying, and Amber, and even Ellen, in terms of meeting people where they're at, if you could find out right where that edge of their ability is, and then push them just beyond that to where they do something they didn't think they could do. When you get someone to do their first real push-up, their first real chin up, the first time they can touch their toes and they haven't done it in 10 years. Any of those little accomplishments, those are moments where they can't wait to run and tell their friends, because they're like, no one has, I never, not only had never thought I could do this, but no one I've ever worked with has gotten me able to do what I'm doing now with this person. And so that makes them, again, that raving fan, that person that's going to tell everybody that'll listen about you and what they've been able to accomplish together.
Very cool. And isn't it,
Sorry.
no, go ahead, Anne. Was that you?
Yeah, I just think we need to say it out loud. We're celebrating non-scale victories, right? And we post those non-scale victories all the time on social media, rather than a before and after picture. A non-scale victory like that first pull-up, I want to work with that person that's going to get me to do that first pull-up or finish that first 5K. So I agree with what you said. I'm getting excited about it. Non-scale victories celebration.
Oh, that's great. And any other valuable client experiences? Amber, do you have any ideas with that's working at your facilities?
Yes, and one of the things that we do just to help those clients feel valued immediately when they come on and become part of our tribe, we send them a welcome packet. And I'm really big on handwritten notes. So we handwrite notes to people. It's not just something that's printed out. It's like, hey, Sarah, thank you so much for joining our tribe. We love having you here. We can't wait to help you run your next 5K or whatever it is. We put those little personalized touches in there. And then remember that I said we know everything we can possibly get from that client. And then if something happens in their life, if they have some kind of a life event, if they have a death in the family or their animal passes away, whatever that is, we send handwritten cards. Sometimes we send flowers. And then we did some really fun things, and I don't do all of these every single year. Typically, I pick one thing to focus on. So one year I did anniversary gifts for everyone, and I made these little cards that said, cheers to us, it's our anniversary. And I would write them a little note and say, thank you for the past 5 years. And I gave them little mini champagne and a couple of like chocolates in a little tiny bag. So little things like that just make them realize that they're more to me than just a number coming in, and that I remember these special things about their life. And of course, you can always do birthday shout outs, birthday parties. We give Christmas gifts every single year. So it is branded, but it is something special to give them to just say thank you for being with us for the year.
And especially when you do some type of event, like if you're going to, Valentine's Day is coming up, bring a partner, and you got somebody there taking photos. You don't spend a fortune on the photos. If you got an iPhone, baby, okay, and the Android, I keep teasing you about the Android, but if you've got that iPhone and you're taking a bunch of photos, throw it together in one of those real templates. You don't need to learn this to hire somebody fancy. Just get a whole bunch of photos of different people, post it online, tag it away, and these people start sharing it with each other. The one thing I would encourage is always include your website on the video, because people forget to put the comments in there and forward it on. And that really, they love to see themselves. Chris, you're nodding. I know you enjoy seeing yourself, but like, what other little tricks of the trade have you been able to share that create these valuable client experiences?
So it's funny, being on these panels is awesome because I'm taking notes the whole time. So even as a panelist who's helping educate, I'm learning through this whole process. So really quickly, I do want to say, like with Ellen talking about branding, you don't do a warrior class, you're a warrior. And I remember being at an event with Ellen and watching the booth, and everybody was so engaged, and I was like, I want a warrior shirt. And they finally gave me one, and I felt so honored. And then they're like, you're known as Warrior Boy from now on. And I was like, I'm Warrior Boy. I think I still text them like, hey, it's Warrior Boy. But again, just I'm not just taking your I'm not just I just don't take a warrior class. I'm a warrior. And Anne also mentioned the importance of onboarding earlier. And what all the research shows on onboarding is if you really personalize an experience and you hold someone's hand with a very strategic onboarding plan in the first 90 days, you dramatically increase the length of their membership. So while it is about ongoing things and that's essential, don't forget that Anne was so great that you brought that up. That 90 days is just crucial. But two tactical things we've done that worked really well, and this ties into what Amber mentioned with the handwritten notes, but we printed just a ton of postcards. It had our branding on it, logo on it, and we said to our staff, send out to whomever for whatever, whenever, just make sure you're doing it. And then we had what we called an excellent sheet that they filled out with different things to make sure they were going above and beyond. They would turn that into us each month. But on the postcard, they would just say, who'd you send it to and why? So it could be like, Amber, thanks for taking class. You did a great job. Eric, we haven't seen you in a while. Where you been? You know, those sort of things. Or, Ellen, congratulations on your daughter and her graduating college. You know, those sort of things. I will say, though, with the postcard program, we did have to put an example postcard in the office for our younger staff who had no idea how to fill out a postcard, and like stamp, address, message. And it was funny, we put like John Doe, and of course had a team member go, I haven't met John. When does he typically come in? We're like, oh boy, I'm getting old. So you have to make sure they know how to do postcards. But we also did something in kind of in line with the onboarding where we did a welcome call. And I think this was from a Gary V podcast like years ago when he owned WineLibraryTV.com. He said any first-time person who ordered would get a call, and the call had no other agenda except welcoming that person and thanking them for buying. So we implemented that. So we would call, Sarah, you joined the club, and within 48 hours, you got a call that said, hey, Sarah, it's Chris from, the gym. I just want to say welcome to the facility. We're so excited to have you. If you ever have any questions or need anything at all, just let us know. And we would pause, and there would be this pause on the other end because they're waiting for you to sell them or try to book a session or do something. And they're like, okay. And then all of a sudden you'd see these people just open up. So it's those things that don't take a lot of financial investment. Again, it's strategy, intentionality. And one thing I do want to reiterate for the audience is we're all sharing, we're calling it tactics and we're calling it strategies, but there's not one person. And I know everybody here personally. Eric, I don't know you as well, but I just stalked you on Instagram, and I can tell that you're very great at what you do and passionate. This is all authentic. Right? There's nothing wrong with putting strategy behind authenticity, right? Because people can smell a fake. If somebody really doesn't care about their clients, care about retention, and they're wishing you happy birthday, people don't care. They see right through it. So, doing all this, you do it because it helps with retention. It helps you make more revenue. It helps with referrals. It helps you be financially successful. But ultimately, it's the right thing to do to make people happy, to help them accomplish their goals and improve their lives through fitness. So regardless of all the tactic things, which are great, it has to be authentic, and it should be.
And I think that's interesting when you said you do phone calling. Okay, we mail things as well. We do a lot send an email, make a phone call, and leave a text message. All three, but you got to do it within the 10 minutes of each other. Because if you drift it from day to day, it doesn't quite work. And people they don't answer your call. No, do you guys answer your phone when you don't recognize a phone number? No. What's beautiful is if you set up your system, here's the email that we're going to use, here's the text message we're going to use, and here's the voicemail we're going to leave, making sure that it's 200 characters for the text message and another about 200 characters for the voicemail you're going to leave, just keeping it short and sweet, but they can read the voicemails. I do not like those recorded messages because then people are waiting on the phone for their live person to click on. That's not authentic. It annoys me. I'm not going to listen to you. I agree with you on the authenticity. And Eric, what are your thoughts on making sure, communication? How are we going to communicate with these people to make sure that we're getting that client retention?
It's constantly asking questions and say, something as simple as, what's the big thing? Like I always ask, especially when I work with athletes, I'd say what I call my magic wand conversation. Say if I had a magic wand in my cabinet and I could give you one thing that's going to change how you feel, how you go out in the field, how you're going to approach your game, what would that one thing be? And it forces them to sit back and say, well, why am I really here? And so because of that, it then makes me connect with the real why, not just the surface, what they put on their goal sheet. And that's a big thing. And then another thing to kind of shift gears and touch on something that I think all the panelists have done in a very great, a great job of addressing is looking at, okay, well, what's been successful in fitness and just try to copy what they've done. So like if you look at something like Peloton, wildly successful. At the end of the day, it's a bike with a TV, right? But what did they do? They did two things. One, what Ellen talked about very elegantly is community, right? You feel like you're part of something. And two, what Amber and Ann and we've all talked about is a gamification, right? I want to win the t-shirt, like you're getting a virtual high five, those sorts of things. If I can have something that gets you to keep coming back, like we have when we teach in our exercise progressions, we have a belt system, like the martial arts system, right? Why do your kids want to go to their karate class for the next 5 years? Because they want to get that belt, they want to get that award, they want to get something to make sure that my effort is rewarded and recognized. And so that community and gamification we can steal from things like Peloton and then put our own twist on it to make it work for the community that and the people that we want to serve.
Very cool. And Anne, have you been able to turn clients into lifelong super fans? Is it those postcards? Is it a phone call? Is it the t-shirt? What's
Do you know, all of this conversation makes me think of COVID kind of, because that's when we started writing again, the handwritten notes, Amber, right? And making the phone calls and touching base and really having those 7 touches. But one thing no one's talked about is turning your members into ambassadors for you. And we have a program in which members can come to us, and we've learned all about all their talents because of all this integration. We've learned about all their skills, and we use their skills to help us at the club. For instance, the person that is the party planner in our club helps us on a social committee put together the best party of the year, right? The person that's the chit chatter person at the front desk, who we just assume sometimes would move away, we ask her to ambassador, if she will, or help our new members feel comfortable in the first 10 minutes of Ellen's group fitness class, where they're uncomfortable with the fitness pro. She's a member. She connects at the front desk. We move her away from the front desk and she becomes our ambassador. So we've been using the talents, and it's really created an opportunity for them to feel like they're almost part of the staff or the family.
Yeah, making sure that they are definitely part of the family. All right, I'm going to share something with you guys real quickly. We have wonderful business summits coming up to us, and they're going to be all over the country. So we're going to So on top of these wonderful monthly None of Your Business webinars that we do, and thank you so much, Ellen and Chris and Ann and Amber and Eric, for joining us. We do business summits where these wonderful people are presenters and share their expertise in all these different topics. I really do want to also thank Chris Senejan, who is our assistant creative director, has been with us. Oh my gosh. I think we're entering our 13th year, our lucky 13. I am the lucky one. I want to thank you guys for thanking so much. And again, Eric, Amber, Ann, Chris, and Ellen, thank you guys. And thank you all for joining us. We will make sure to send you a recording. Any goodbyes, you guys? Chris, you want to hit us with something to remember?
Yeah, I think we answered the question, how do you do retention? All the viewers and listeners, do what these people on the panel told you to do, because this was tremendous advice, and execute it on a consistent basis.
And Amber?
This was an amazing webinar, and I hope that you'll at least take one thing that you can do. What's one thing you can start right now to connect better with your clients?
Very cool. Eric?
So, Chris, I'm stalking you back on Instagram, and thanks for your compliment earlier. And I'm just an equal opportunity thief, and I'm stealing from every one of you on the panel. And I'm going to steal my closing line from a guest, Mark Fisher, that I had on my podcast. And he said that the key is you need to have a good blend of two things: warmth and competency. Obviously, you could tell by the people on this panel, they really care. They're really warm. They're people you want to spend time with, but they're also good at what they do. And so you have to have both. And so I think being able to develop those, have both, and then continue to develop those is what's going to put you above the rest.
Awesome. And Ellen?
I think a couple of things. Life goes by so fast. We're all living in this crazy, Mach 5 million pace of life, and just taking the time to get out of the four walls with your members, to create some memories, do some non-fitness things with your members, like go on a hike, or non-business related things. Take them to dinner after they finish a small group training challenge, break up the monotony and create memories for life. And to have real super followers, super fans, we need to make them the superstar of our show.
Very cool. And last but definitely not least, Ann Gilbert?
You know what? We forget. Don't forget to honor your previous members and your cancels. Reach out to them. They're still part of your family. So don't forget to honor your previous members and your cancels, because it's a huge database for you.
Very good. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you again next month. Take care.